and go.
Woo!
And welcome to the B.R.A. podcast.
Let's go.
I'm Mr. Lucas. What did I say? I am Mr. Lucas. That makes no sense. I am
Mr.
Lucas, one of your
Mr.
hosts.
Mr.
And we got Mr. Frank and Mr. Angelo in the house. And this is our first live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
This is gonna be random.
This is gonna be random, bruv.
I can already feel it.
It's our first time, and anyway.
Try and error.
So this is the B.R.A. podcast, which stands for bold, raw, and authentic. And we talk about everything and anything. Each week, each of the hosts have a topic or topics that they can choose, and we can sit here and discuss them and see each other's point of view. This week, I get to choose the topics, and I chose boundaries, what is power, and the state of art in today's world. So we're going to start with boundaries, but we're going to do a little bit different than what we did last week. So whoever goes first, then that person will talk about first topic. If it's boundaries, then you talk about boundaries. Then the second person goes and talk about boundaries. Then I put my input in, and then we go to the next topic, and then we restart on the first person, second, third. That way, we can stay on the topic, and everyone can have the insight on that topic and not have to worry about the next topic. And you have more time to elaborate on each topic as a segment instead of trying to have your input on all three topics at once. Let's try that way today and see how it goes. So,
hold on.
Who wants to go first, or do you want to rock paper scissors or something like that? Yeah, go rock paper scissors, you two, and see who goes
I can
first.
go first.
Okay,
I don't mind.
that was easy.
There
That was easy. All right.
So
First
the
topic.
first one is
Boundaries.
so boundaries. What about boundaries?
Just boundaries in general. Whatever.
Is it good? Is it bad?
Is
Do
it
we have
good?
them
Is it
or we don't?
bad? Is it necessary to have them? What do you think boundaries are? How they should be applied? Just general. Just whatever you think.
I have a theory, right?
Yeah, that's
I have
it.
a
You have
theory.
a theory. So go.
So I have a theory. You know how people, like humans, us, we always say that we want to be free to do whatever we want to do. That's the worst mindset you can ever have.
Okay, wait. Say that again.
I have a theory. You know how as humans have that mindset that we want to be free and do
Yes.
whatever we want to do?
Yes.
So worst mindset you can ever have.
It's the worst mindset. Okay, why?
Why? Because you need to know what you can do. Because not everything that you can do, you should do.
True. That's true.
You get that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, like in this day and age, we have a generation of people that feel like, like if I feel like I want this, or if I feel like I'm like this, or if I feel like I want to do this, I'll do it and no one can stop me because it's my right. Okay, you have the right. But in terms of, because nowadays people even say that there's no morals, like morals is subjective, it's based, it's personal and stuff like that. But I'm like, hey, think whatever you want to think, but there's a baseline on how we should live our lives to better each other's, like to respect, love, and care for each other as humans, right? There's a base, there's a standard for it, and that standard, is you don't have to go out there and hurt your neighbor. You don't have to kill, steal, destroy, and lie. Some of the things that I can think of, like to destroy your neighbor, to destroy your someone else, your friend or someone that you don't like, right? But nowadays, like it is permissible for people to actually go out there and do whatever they want to do, because in the name of, hey, it's only right for me to do because he did something wrong to me, so I'm gonna do it back. Or I'm a human, I have rights, I can do whatever I want to do. Hey, we live in 2023, I can be a woman if I want to. Nobody cares. And you have that mentality of people also saying, hey, if he doesn't hurt anyone, nobody cares. But not knowing that someone is actually hurting the person that you're saying that if it's not hurting anyone, that it's hurting them, without knowing. But because it's not you, it's not someone that you care about, you don't really care that way, So, and also, even if it's someone that you truly love for real, you wouldn't just be like, hey, go man, I believe in you, I trust you, it's 2023, you can do whatever you want to do. There's a standard that we live on, and therefore we need to have boundaries to actually distinguish between something that you can cross, like a certain thing that you can do, and certain things that you can't do. Like for example, I'll give you an example, like in a marriage, for me and my wife here over here, there's certain things that we know I can do, but I'm not going to do it because it's for the best for the relationship. It's for the best for us as a group, as a team, because it's not just about me. It's not just about her. So let's say if I wanted to start a business, so the business, I'll also put boundaries on there on what I can do if it's not going to strain my family, if it's not going to, because as men, we take risks when doing things, and that's being ambition, right? Like ambitious. We ought to be ambitious to achieve great things, but sometimes some ambitions can actually be detrimental to your family, to the people that are close to you. So if you're not aware of the bad things that can happen to your family, you might not know what's the line. You might not have a line cross, like which line to show you that right here I'm not going to cross because I care about the people that's behind me here, or the people that are with me, So I think it's very important to have boundaries, to actually help us, distinguish what we can do but what we shouldn't do, to in order to create a better environment for the people that are around us, for the people that love us, or for the people that we love, to make sure that we are in harmony and live in harmony and be better for each other in a way. That's my 2 cents. There's a lot more I can unpack it to, but I think that's.
No, you can keep unpacking if you want.
Sorry?
You can keep unpacking
We
if
are
you
now
want.
on a time restriction, bro. Go for
Nah,
it.
nah, nah, nah. I think we're trying to keep. I'm trying to be on point nowadays. So I'm
Mm.
just gonna hit it
Yeah,
and then
fair
get out of
enough.
there real quick. So
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
so
okay,
that's
okay,
another
okay.
thing. Yeah.
All right, you can go ahead, Mr. Angelo. What's
No,
your
that's an
thoughts
interesting
on?
point. So
Mm.
let's unpack what you just said for
Okay,
starters. Yeah.
go ahead.
But what do you how does how does boundaries has anything to do with human freedom though?
Good question.
I kind of missed that point there.
Oh, with freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you connect boundaries with human freedom?
Human
Mm,
freedom.
That's a
Okay.
good point, actually.
Do you know? So that's the same thing as well. I'll relate it as Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus came and died for us so we can be free,
Mm.
right? So we can be free to make whatever choice we want. He created us in a way that we can be free to make whatever
Mm-hmm.
choice we want,
Mm-hmm.
to decide which God to worship, to do whatever we want to do. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
worship Lucifer, hey, go ahead, knock yourself out. But until when you start to worship God and you choose God,
Mm.
now there is boundaries. You can't
Mm.
just do anything. You can't go
Mm.
and kill your neighbor. You can't steal. You can't lie whatsoever. What lies, gossip, all these little small things that people think it's not really big deal, or
Mm-hmm.
it's all big,
Mm.
to God, especially when you start to follow God and want to live a honorable life,
Mm.
and that will show itself by your character. Because once you start live that way, your character will automatically be better, and people will actually look at you and distinguish and differentiate you from the norm. Everyone else look a certain way, but because you live a honorable life in private,
Mm.
you will completely look different to everyone else.
Mm.
And that will be a positive difference. And everyone will look up to you and want to do whatever you do. They want to know or learn whatever you do so that they can also apply it into their lives. Now, as humans, they've taken that particular verse, like even non-Christians, because the freedom part thing comes from Christianity,
Mm.
that God came to die for us so we can be free from sin,
Mm.
right? But then you have people that take that idea and apply it into life, into normal life,
Mm.
to be free, to be free to do whatever we want to do. Not knowing that, like if you're free, there's a difference between having a freedom to choose and do whatever you want to do, but then make the right choice.
Mm.
Make good choices to do whatever you want to do, rather than making poor choices because you just feel free to do whatever you want to do. So in your mind, even though you don't have boundaries, you create boundaries for yourself. Not that anyone created a boundary for you, but you create boundaries for yourself to say that I will not do this. I will not cheat on my wife. I will not do drugs because it's bad for me, and it's bad for, like, if I do drugs, not only me will be affected by it, but people around me will also be affected by it. I will not speed and drive carelessly because I can't do it, but because no one is watching anyway. Like, the police will catch you and find you, but anyway, you can do it again. But if you get affected by a crash, not only you will be affected by it, but the people that love you around you will also be affected by it. So
Mm.
that's the boundary that I'm talking about here. So you can be free to do whatever you want, because we live in a free world, a free country. You can do whatever you want to do. But it's the boundary that you create for yourself when you look at your own life and look at the people that you love. Because the thing that people don't seem to understand is that we are relational beings. You can't just live by yourself and live for yourself and do whatever you want to do because you love yourself. We are created here to live in fellowship with each other and have those relationships, so we can,
Mm.
like, we move faster alone, but
Mm.
we can move further in a group.
Mm.
So You can move faster along. You can do whatever you want to do and progress yourself and create a new civilization with, with new ideas, LGBTQ. Hey, I'm not saying anything, but hey, you never know. But what I'm saying here is, if we work together as a team, AKA when you have boundaries, when you know that, hey, right here, I'm not gonna cross this line. I can cross this line, but based on what I think is good for me and good for the people around me, the people that I love and the people that love me, I don't think it's good for me. So I'm not gonna cross that line. So that's the type of freedom I'm talking about.
What I understood is that you associating boundaries with social standards. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As if you set certain boundaries that
There's
doesn't,
also societal expectations.
yeah,
Something
doesn't
like that, yeah.
necessarily align with the social standards in terms of if everyone's like the social standard obviously is different in like every century, I think.
Every country, yeah, and every century, yeah.
Century, if a social boundary, a social standard, it's to slap people in the face, it becomes a normal thing. But uh morally, you go, okay, this is not, um I'm gonna put a boundary between this thing because I don't think it's right. There should be a sense of freedom there because you won't have that anxiety of following those social standards.
Mm.
However, you still have to deal with some, because you being outside of the social. Anyway, it's what
Yeah,
I
but
think.
but 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 you touched on a good point there. It's actually freeing. That's actually true freedom. True freedom comes with you understanding that I can do whatever I want to do, but I don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true freedom.
Yeah, freeing yourself from impulsive thoughts, intrusive thoughts, and probably the last one, like desires. Freeing yourself from desires, then you truly free yourself from basically the matrix. In short,
The Matrix.
yeah.
Hey, by the way, the tits are coming out tomorrow, eh? Hey,
Oh,
the tits
okay.
brothers.
Before we move on to Angela, okay, there's one thing that you said because both of you are married, so you have way more insight into it than I do, obviously. You said there's boundaries in the marriage, right?
Yeah.
I heard something along those lines. What can you talk about, like boundaries within the marriage, since you have the
Boundaries in a marriage.
what could that look
As,
like a
yeah.
little bit?
Oh, there's lots of scenarios, but I can just pick
Yeah,
one.
yeah, go ahead.
Something like I won't pick the absurd ones, but let's say boundaries like just having a conversation with your wife, right? So your woman, aka she's on a period, she is going through, a PSM, blah, 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 whatever
This
they
is why
call
we
it.
get cancelled, by the way. This is why we get cancelled, but carry on.
Gonna get canceled? What are you talking about? We're gonna
We're
get
having a
canceled for talking
conversation.
about what?
It's
Ain't
a
nobody gonna
joke. It's
cancel
a
me.
joke. It's a
They cancel me
joke.
from what?
They're
I'm
cancelled
not
for
even that
less, bro.
famous.
They're
Anyway.
cancelled for less.
We
Carry on.
barely started already getting canceled. What?
But like seriously though, like like women have certain like every month, like they like even they know it. You're watching, you know it too. That there's certain months in certain days in a month where like they just not in a good mood. They just don't, they're not irrational, and they're not particularly friendly. I'd say I'll use those words very. I'm picking my words very carefully here.
Don't want to get canceled.
But then, as a man in a marriage, when you see your wife, being irrational, not doing things according to, like the standards of the house and stuff like that, there's two choices, two things you can do. You can either, actually, there's three choices. You can either pretend you didn't see it, just be like, in the name of love, I just let it slide. Or you can either get angry with her, and then because she's angry with you and she's calling your name, she's swearing at you and stuff like that, and then you swear back at her, and then there's a fight. Or you guys can sit down and have a conversation about what she's doing, but in the name of love, you help her get better in those particular situations. Now, the last example right there is you not crossing, like you setting a boundary for yourself, knowing that, hey, right here, for my wife, for my sake, I want her to be better, not only for me inside the house here, but for people outside there as well. So me as a man, I have boundaries over here. Woman, you're not to cross those boundaries. Why? For your reputation and for my reputation, for both of us. And not only that, we will walk through it together so you can be able to be better in handling yourself in those particular when you were going through those when you in that period of time, you can go through it, learn from it, and be better not only in the house but also outside. Because the thing is, like some females are not likable outside as well when they're in those particular situations. Like girls don't like each other, but like they fight, and not only that, they ruin their own reputation as well. So to help her get better, to help her understand that she's going through that, because most females don't even understand, don't even know that they're going through that most of the time. The only person that can help them out is someone that actually loves them for real, that actually wants the best for them. Now, if you have standards, if you have a line that you've crossed, you're like, okay, here, for both of us, we're gonna make this line right here, and we're not gonna cross that line for both of us. And you agree, obviously, it's a conversation that you both have. And then so that when those particular times come, you can help her out, and she might be a little bit, sensible in a way that she will remember the conversation that you've had. They'll be like, okay, right, you're helping me here to get better, not attacking me. All right, so it's a boundary that we've crossed for both of us. So for me to get better, so I can be a better friend to you, and be a better friend not only to you but also to the people out there as well, so that my reputation is kept positively, and so your reputation also is kept positively as well. Because we're in a team, we're together in this. It's not just me, and it's not just you. So that's one example. Does that make sense? Something like
Hmm.
Because you would have many different type of boundaries within the marriage, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Financially, sexually,
For
emotionally,
sure.
and so on and so on.
I was gonna pick the absurd. I was like, I'm not gonna pick the absurd one. Let me pick the more friendly one, so you guys can understand where like just
But
an
with that
example.
one, I hope you understand not only women have the emotional ups and downs, even men have them,
Oh
yeah?
yes.
You could
Oh
be the
Of
dude in the
course.
house too, not just a
oh
woman,
yes.
yeah?
Of
Oh
course,
yes.
men, we do have them, but we have better control of it. We
I don't
should
know
have
if
better
I do.
control of it.
I
Most
don't know
men
if
don't
I
have
do.
better control of it because they've
I'm joking.
never been given an opportunity to actually practice to control it. We're humans. Every human has emotions, but naturally, men should be able to have better control of their emotions compared to women.
But there are
And
moments
that's
where
not me saying that women are more inferior than men. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because females have more, endure more
well,
than
if you
men in a sense.
if you go, like, for example, by Jordan Peterson's example, he says that women, once they start going through was it
Puberty.
puberty?
Yep.
I'm not sure if it's when it starts or it's later on, but he says that woman has the tendency to have more negative emotions
Yeah,
due
something about
to
self.
many reasons, because in a way you just you have to look it up what he says, but apparently it's in a way that it's set up that woman needs to be more, how do you say, tends to be more vulnerable,
Yeah.
especially because they go through pregnancy, so they have they need to have that sense of protectiveness, so
Mm,
that can create a certain anxiety, and can increase the tendency of negative feelings, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but
Mm.
that may have some actual, just the way the the person is built, the
yeah, true.
difference between men and women also can play a role in that. But anyway,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Mhm.
That's true. That's true. Well, following.
Anyway, Angelo, you can.
Yeah, but for me, I think boundaries are necessary, and I think there's different kinds of boundaries. Of course, there's personal boundaries. There's boundaries between siblings. There's
Mm,
boundaries between parents and children.
mm,
There's boundaries between the individual and their city and society and the culture.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
there's boundaries um, in religious boundaries
Oh
or
yes.
ideology boundary. Let me say
Oh
it
yes,
because
yes, 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 yes.
because today I don't think it's more of a religious thing. Today it's more of an ideology. People are just following what everyone else is saying.
Mm, mm, mm.
Even the atheists themselves, they think they've escaped. They think of believing in something, but they still believe in an ideology of there's nothingness out there. They strongly believe in a Christian belief in something, and those have their own boundaries with what they believe in,
Mm, mm,
if
mm.
that makes any sense. But in regards to boundaries, I think boundaries are necessary because they help prevent what could you say, like habitual mistakes. Like the
Mm,
prevent from like repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
mm,
And if especially if that learns quickly, you make a mistake, you can make a boundary there. Or if you learn something is good, you can adopt that boundary as well. Like for example, for me, what's a boundary that I never used to struggle with, like saying no to people. Yeah,
oh
saying no to
yes,
people.
yes,
That's
yes.
a boundary that I struggled with. But now that I'm becoming an old man, I say it. I can see the heartbreak in them, but I'm like, bro, I'm okay. I'm
Oh,
okay with
okay,
saying
okay.
no. Like I'm okay with it now. Like that's a boundary because it's it's more of like maybe something that can even um boost your mental health and your
Mm,
well-being if you
mm,
have nice boundaries for yourself.
mm.
Let me say healthy boundaries, because you can also have uh boundaries that don't really help you,
True.
if that makes any sense. Because what's a boundary which will not really help you? Like a boundary of uh since we're going to touch on this later, I'll use them as an example. As an artist, yeah, if
Mm,
you create yourself a boundary of saying, oh, I will not interact with this certain group of people, I will not touch into this kind of topic, then as an artist, you're almost handicapping yourself. Because as an artist, you are the guy that's meant to bring the message to the masses of like, hey, this is what's going on out there. Look what I can paint. Look what I can rap. Look what I
mm,
can dance. I saw it by exposing myself to that. I'm expressing it through my rap or through my dance or through whatever. Once you block yourself out of that, your art almost becomes bleak, or what's the best word?
Pragmatic.
Yes, yes.
I
Like
don't know how I put that off, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, like because at that point you're no longer trying to teach people something new. You're just
Mm,
repeating what you've heard, what you've been taught, and you've blocked yourself from learning something new. Yeah.
But isn't that the same thing though? So if you are trying to do what everyone is doing, you are doing what everyone is doing. If you don't have a boundary and doing whatever you want to do and not doing what everyone is
That's
doing,
why I used an artist in
how's
particular. I didn't use an accountant. I didn't use a
how's that?
teacher. A
Yeah,
teacher has its
artist.
boundaries, of course. A teacher can't just go and start looking at, let's say, dead bodies and every day for a
But
week. But
but
an
that's the same thing
artist,
with artist though.
yeah,
That's isn't that where originality is born though?
yeah, that's where originality is born.
Originality is born from you not doing what everyone is doing, but doing something that
Yes,
you want to do
yes,
and stay on that particular path.
yes.
Yeah.
I think what Angelo was trying to say is that
Mm.
as an artist, if you create a certain type of boundaries that okay, there are certain
Oh.
topics
Mm.
that I'm not going to touch. I'm gonna put myself in this box or on
So
this
you're limiting yourself.
narrow path. You're limiting yourself.
So
Then
limiting
your
yourself.
art will become only that one road. You won't
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah,
able
yeah.
to pull from other things to
Mm. You're
expand.
handicapping yourself. You're like
Yeah.
almost like shooting yourself in the leg. You're painting yourself
So
into a corner.
so that's not a
That's
boundary then.
so it's a
That's
boundary that does not help you, is what I'm saying. Yeah, that's not a helpful boundary. So like we need to be careful when boundaries we set on ourselves. Or
is that a
Because
boundary though?
because it work I think it would work like this. If you set, for example, I'm not going to touch on these topics, it means that you're not going to let yourself be influenced by things that comes from those topics, because if you let yourself influence, then you affect your creativity, then you can output your creativity of that certain topic into your art form.
Mm.
So you're creating a boundary because you're not allowing yourself to be influenced by those points of views in order to output into your art. Maybe
Okay.
Yes,
that's what you're trying to say. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
which is the only way an artist could ever really grow, and
Sorry?
which is one of the only ways an artist could ever really grow, by
Okay.
literally interacting with people, interacting with objects, and they bring us the things that we never were like, wow, like look, I've never seen this before. Who does that? The moonwalk. Oh, I learned it from some boys at the block, blah blah. They taught me
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, now we know about the moonwalk. Like, oh my
Mm.
goodness, look at that. Or we see a bad painting. Like, where did you see that? Oh, I traveled to Seychelles. Where are Seychelles? Oh, in between Africa and Madagascar. Now you know where Seychelles is. Does that make sense?
Oh
But
yeah,
as soon as you go like, oh no, boom,
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
interact with these people because they do this, because just they eat pork. Like now you shooting yourself in the foot. Or I can't trust these people because they cut their headboard. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Does that make sense? That's not a necessary boundary. That almost impedes yourself. But however, there's also good boundaries that propel you. Like boundaries, for example, you can put a boundary of not doing what you don't want to do. That is a legit boundary. Do not do that which you hate. That is a legit boundary. Yeah, you can follow that. That I support 100%. As an artist, as a teacher, as a plumber, do not do that which you hate. That should be philosophy for everyone. Yes. But with boundaries, we're gonna get back on track, I suppose. Yeah, I think that's really necessary. Also, in the aspect of like relationships too, they help to smoothen relationships. They prevent individuals from overstepping each other's lines and each other triggers. Because as humans, we all have triggers, either you are male or female, whatever you identify as today. We all have things that trigger us that may upset us, or we may have limits to certain jokes or certain energies or certain exposure to things. Yeah. And I think in those areas, it's necessary to set examples, especially boundaries, especially with people that are close to us, like with your wife, for example. It is necessary to have boundaries, because you'll be spending the rest of your life with that individual. You'll be working with that individual every day of your life. you'll be doing everything with the same person. So you just can't be just overstepping each other, talking over each other, fighting all the time, or not compromising at all. Like stuff like that. Like the thing will not function. There need to be boundaries there to help smoothen out the machine, which is a relationship.
Can
That makes any sense.
you pick one boundary that you feel comfortable talking about within a relationship to unpack a little bit, like on a specific?
One boundary I say is to respect each other's uh, expression of distress, like if or like or of like dissatisfaction,
Okay.
if that's the right word to use. You can be dissatisfied with something in a relationship, yeah. Yes, I have a boundary down. Like if I'm expressing my dissatisfaction, it is something that for that moment, we just have to be serious a little bit just to talk it out. Like you can't afford to trivialize it or joke about someone's emotions. Like they're coming to you like, oh, Lucas, bro, what you did to this morning wasn't all right. I wasn't happy with it. I wanted to use the shower first, but you jumped in there and you got me late. That broke my heart. And then I got like, I said shower, blah, blah, blah. You gotta get over it. That's trivializing the emotions of your beloved. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, we said, okay, like, oh, yeah, my bad. I won't do it next time, blah, blah. I'll try to fix it. And I do understand that I made you feel bad. That's like one boundary that I have in my relationship with my wife. We always strive to have the time for everything, the time for that good conversation to fix things, and we understand each other. And after that, it's okay to do the joking, to talk whichever you want to talk. I'm happy with it. If that makes any sense? Like
Yeah,
that's
that
a
makes sense. That makes
boundary.
sense.
Like that's
That
a legit
makes sense.
boundary I follow. Yeah.
Maybe would that fall into like a emotional boundary category?
Yes, like an emotional boundary. Yeah, like replacing each other emotions, expression of emotions. Yeah.
That's
Kind of
interesting.
facilitate the relationships heaps.
It's actually good.
For the
Good
young lads out
insight.
there, for the young lads.
That's good insight.
Mm.
Frank, you have any questions? Anything that you picked up?
Oh, I think it's pretty spot on there.
Okay. Nothing that you want to unpack from that.
We can unpack anything you want to talk about.
Okay.
How about you, Mr. Lucas? You want to unpack anything?
Well, I'll talk about boundaries a little bit, but I'm going on a different direction.
Digressing?
No, just a more on a direction that we all been through, and it's like absolutely necessary. The direction that I'm going in.
Yeah.
So boundaries, in short, it's absolutely necessary.
However,
No, it's not. However, it's just not. However, it's absolutely necessary. Like period. There's not even a however. What are boundaries first? So I for me personally, whenever I go into a topic, I tend to have the need to have a definition of what we're talking about, because if you don't have a definition, then you can just go in so many directions. You still can go with many directions even with the definition, but the definition tends to narrow down things a little bit. So boundaries are pretty much a set of rules that we set within relationships, sort of like imaginary lines or shields or walls that we put up, that tend to separate and protect us from people, especially when someone is trying to undermine us, whether it's mentally or physically, consciously or involuntary. There are people who consciously trying to undermine others, and there are moments where things just happen involuntarily. and this set of rules is just like a red light that we have in our system that signals that, okay, this is, I'm not comfortable with this. This is doesn't make me feel good, and and within psychology, there's three types of boundaries. There's rigid boundary, there's porous boundary, and there's healthy boundaries. So let me put this up here real quick. So rigid boundaries are characterized as inflexible rules that a person applies strictly.
Mm.
So people with rigid boundaries tend to avoid intimacy with others, maintain emotionally distance. Um, they put like really strong walls and barriers, and it's tends to be very hard for others to overcome those
They
walls and
they need
shields
to
and
chill
lines.
out.
No, but yeah. So they defend their privacy. They tend to not rely on people too much. They,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
they tend to keep the distance. It's very everything tends to be internalized and personal.
mm,
And then you have porous boundaries, which is completely opposite of the other one, which they have no emotional boundaries. They just share everything with everyone. They have no problem with telling the most intimate problems, even to stranger. So they tend to be manipulated easily, and they
yes,
tend
I've
to,
heard that.
yeah,
I've heard that, yeah.
overexpose,
Mm,
and that tends to create a lot of suffering. And they have the difficulty in saying no, and it creates some emotional dependency, and have fear of social rejection and that sort of things. And healthy boundaries, it's pretty easy to describe. It's just healthy boundaries, a pretty good balance
mm.
boundary that you have
The yin and
between,
yang.
you know
Mm,
within that, boundaries absolutely necessary, especially during childhood, because during childhood you're a blank state, right? You're
yeah.
just a blank page, and your parents are the people that will have the most input, especially on the early ages into your life.
Mm,
So if you don't have healthy boundaries with your parents,
mm,
whatever type of boundary that you develop during that childhood, it's going to affect all of your relationships into adulthood.
mm,
So this is like the most important part of your life, in which the boundaries need to be set in the correct way, because you affect everything else that comes later: friendships, work, relationships, and so on and so on. So a rigid boundary between a parent and a child, it's just this extremely big wall where the parent tends to be more distant. I don't know if that's the right way. Anyway, but imagine just like a thick line where people don't cross too
yeah.
much, right?
Mm,
And then porous boundary would be a line, but with many holes. And the parent tends to um, cross over to the child line side, and then a lot of times the child has to involuntarily go to the parent's position, not in a literal sense, but more in a emotional and practical sense. And because of those boundaries, it creates many problems to that child going forward. Obviously, you definitely need professional help
Nah, you
later.
need
yeah.
Jesus.
No, you will need professional help later on in
No, like
adulthood to
especially
get
if what
to
I've
get
heard,
to know
apparently if a
boundaries.
kid reaches the age of 4, and you, the parent, cannot
Mm.
easily tell the kid to stop doing something, like,
Mm.
hey,
Yeah,
stop doing that,
Mm.
or let's go do this.
Mm.
Hey, wash your hands. Hey, brush
Mm.
your teeth. Apparently, at the age of 4, if you cannot do that for your child, it's dangerous to even send them to kindergarten.
Mm. Mm.
it's at the edge of 2 when I've noticed it.
No, that's
2,
what the
3.
psychologist said. What's his name? Jordan Peterson. Yeah, at the age of
It's
4.
actually at 2.
Are you a psychologist, my
Jordan
nigga?
Peterson is being a little bit lenient, trying to
He's
help.
seen it all.
But
He's seen it all.
but for me, working with all the kids, at 2 years old, 2, 3, because at 2, your kid can already say words, can already understand you. At that point, if you pass that stage, if you get to 4 years old and they cannot listen to you and obviously do the things like the routine and stuff like that, then it's going to be hard. At 3, because at 3, you're already pushing it. At 4, forget about it. At 2, you can maybe save them a little bit, but at 2, you are gambling already. At 2 years old. Because I've seen it with my 2 friends. They have like 2-year-old, like 1.5, 2-year-old. Amos, a friend of mine, also has a girl who's 15 months old, and he's also seen that as well. And he's trying hard right now to help her out because there's certain things, certain behaviors that they're beginning to see that it's changing, and they want to help her out at that stage. And I've told them, with my little Frank over here too, there's certain things that he's begun to do that you have to set the boundaries, and you can see the change. He's not even 2 years old. He's not even 1.5-year-old yet, but he can already change. You see certain things.
What John Peterson says, you have to follow how they go from like a baby to a toddler to an infant to a child. At 2, they're not really forming any memories. At 2, that's still a blank thing. They're still just learning from you.
Yeah. So that's the learning part.
At 5, they start making memories at 5 now. And after that, their consciousness is almost the voice of the parent telling them, hey, don't touch that. It's the voice of the parent telling them now. And it's like downloaded inside them like a computer, like a programming. So now if the programming before that was not to the standard of what's expected of a child to do, then it becomes a problem. And most parents kind of miss that mark as well. And I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do. It's always a hard thing to do because the little babies, they're only individual and they have their own personalities and they have different RPMs of IQs and thinking capabilities. But carry on, Mr. Lucas, we digressed for a bit there. Carry on.
Oh no, we're still on track. So in a nutshell, the parent needs to play the parent role and the child needs to play the child role. The parent is the one who has the responsibility to create that healthy boundary between parent and child so the child can evolve into a healthy boundaries adulthood, which creates a person who knows their values, who can be flexible with their boundaries if necessary, who speaks with assertiveness, who knows how to take a no for answer, who knows how to give a no for answer without feeling guilty in the right circumstances. So childhood boundaries between a parent and a child is absolutely like necessary.
Absolutely.
And
I'll
it goes
add on to that for a little bit. Can I add on to something there?
go on.
Yeah, I think for parents, in that particular area as well, it's just sad that, God gave us the ability, like even dumbass people can make babies, more smartest people can also make babies. But, like to be a wise parent, to be a smart parent, making a child, obviously making a child, being able to even go and try and start mating with someone, because mating basically is an ability for you to be able to make a child, to create a child. And for you to actually get to even start mating with someone else, you need to be able to have yourself self-control, character, and stability, and having a sense of direction with yourself as well. Because if you don't have that and you create another person, it's going to be really tough for you to raise that child, because you won't have a sense of direction, you won't have a sense of leadership, because all that plays a big role. Because if you don't have a sense of leadership, you won't be able to lead your child and guide your child, into being the greatest person that it can be, the greatest version of you, aka, because that's what we plan to do as parents. But yeah.
I think you also touched a little bit on emotional attachment, which is a completely different subject. But however, boundaries and emotional attachment during childhood goes hand in hand, and both of them will play a huge role into the child's teenage years and going to adulthood relationships. So those things are quite important in the early ages of development. What else can I say about boundary? I had something in my mind, but I think it kind of slipped away. But yeah, I think that's it.
There's even work boundary too that you can have with like bosses and yourself.
Oh, but boundaries in the workplace will also
or with
be
colleagues.
associated with how you were raised.
Yes, I suppose.
Because, for example, if you go into porous boundary where where is the tendency of the parent being sharing too much, being overly, sharing of the emotions and everything that goes on with their life, to the point where it can have that switch between the parent taking the role of the child and the child taking the role of the parent, the child having to grow up faster and mature earlier than it should have.
Yeah.
That can translate into your workplace, to the point where you can easily become manipulated in the workplace, where your boss can take advantage of you, in emotionally, mentally, financially, and all sorts of things. So you end up being tossed around in your workplace and played with, and you won't say anything. You know what I mean? It's that it creates the kind of person where you have a certain power over them, that you can do whatever you want and they won't speak out, almost. But I do believe that might be a certain point in which, if you push certain buttons, like if you keep pressing on those buttons too much, that person might explode. Because let's be honest, no human can really take
you
it.
see that all the time with kids exploding from their parents, and not just
work boundaries also associated with how you raise up.
Well, the common theme with the boundary with kids and parents then is just treat them as you want them to be, isn't it? Don't treat them like a thief or a liar or a robber or someone you don't trust and will not go out with distrust and stuff like that. Treat them with love, though extend love to other people. Treat them with respect, extend respect to other people. Treat them with like boundary.
But the thing is, not all parents are like that. Not all parents were raised like that. Not all parents actually have the heart. Actually, some parents, most parents, actually have some type of hate or some type of contentment to their kids because of the partner that they don't like. They don't like the partner with whom they made a child with. Mostly women, or maybe men as well. Like it's a 50-50 thing, but you will find some parents are just very lenient, very passive with their kids. They're not in the kid's life. They just met the kid, And I hear stories with Chrissy, from Chrissy, telling me how some parents would just dump the kids at daycare, and I can pick him up late at night, late afternoon at 6. Drop them off at 6 a.m., about 7 a.m., and pick them up at 6 p.m., and so on and so forth. And then you find the parents don't even input anything in their kids. And then when the kid becomes a certain different kid from what they know, they start to hate the kid because, oh, that's not what we do in this house. Why do you do that? Oh, and the kid does not know what to do in the house because they don't spend time at home with the parents, So, and then so there's that hate that the parents and the kids have created towards each other. And when you do not like your kid, best believe that there's going to be people out there that would not like your kid.
That would have a correlation to emotional attachment, because at a certain age, your child was going to spend more time in school and with other people than with you. So if you don't have the correct emotional attachment to your kid, to your child, then it's gonna create a bad time. I don't want to say bad, but incorrect type of emotional attachment and incorrect type of boundaries that you can have with your child, and that can have some not so good effects and input into the child, I would say. Anyway, I would think I'll end my side of the boundaries thing with this. If you're an adult and you want to have a healthy set of boundaries, which if you don't have already, I think the one of the most important things that you need to have is self-awareness. You need to develop self-awareness in terms
common
of,
sense.
you need to know your thoughts, you need to know your strengths, your values, your beliefs. You need to understand how things affect you emotionally so you can work on them. And once you start to figure out those things, then you can set those boundaries. Because if you don't have self-awareness, if you don't know who you are, what your values are, what your strengths, your weakness, how to process your thoughts, how to process your emotions, how your emotions affect how you act and all those things, then if you set the boundaries before you learn those things, you feel uncomfortable setting those boundaries because you're playing by another set of rules that were input into you from your childhood. So I will end with that. Anyone wants to
No,
add
I have
anything
to say
else about
I agree with
boundaries?
that one. I agree with that one especially. And in regards to boundaries, especially that one, yeah, there's a serious issue in like the Black culture of boundary. There's like there's a big issue in that area, especially with how kids are treated in our culture. That makes sense. Like we don't respect the boundaries of our kids as much. Like you probably notice this a lot, like in the most like impoverished places where most people of color live, they tend to not respect education for kids. Like, or here's another statistic again. Like in Congo, for example, yeah, 4 out of 10 girls reports to be like abused like inappropriately before the age of 10. Yeah. So that's like a cultural boundary where I think like it's just from infancy and it's just a cycle that keeps on repeating itself. And you can obviously see the fruits and the results of the habitual end stepping of messing with kids and being harsh with them, or like giving the capital punishments like they're in the army or something like that, which is at this point is unacceptable. It needs to change in that area. So yes, I do agree with that one. Like there's a lot of evidence of most of those things stemming from childhood, where people don't understand boundaries and stuff like that.
Mm.
So yes, I do follow what you're saying well there.
So,
But yeah, you
bro,
can.
where's your microphone, Frank?
I
Frank,
cannot hear you.
we cannot hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. I muted
I
myself.
was just like, I'm looking at his mouth. I was
Yeah.
like, bro, what are you talking about? What did you think?
Oh yeah, yeah.
No.
So what I was saying, like I agree with what Angela was saying.
Mm,
But it's not only
mm,
Africans, or even specific in the Congo.
mm,
It's any country that has to do with culture, a cultural country. Doesn't matter what it is, like Brazil,
I would say
South
more
America.
traditionalism,
Sorry?
or like a
Traditionalism.
traditionalism.
Nah, if you look at like the Chinese or the Japanese, they don't do that to their kids.
Or
Like the
the
Oh,
Congo,
Chinese do
bro.
it. The Chinese.
have you seen classes of kids in China? Are they like the class of kids in Congo?
Well, that's
You
a
talk
difference
about,
though.
but
Like
you
if
talk,
you are comparing,
yeah,
so
education. I don't know, but
so
in all
educate,
the areas, yes.
so like even that happens in Australia here as well, but it's because we are being fed a different idea of
Mm,
boundaries, because we've been exposed to something that makes us feel nice rather than something that actually is better for us as a
mm,
civilization.
mm,
So China also has it, but it's not what you think it looks like. It's not. It doesn't look like, for most third world country, I would say they're not really. I don't like to use that word third world country, because there's no third world country in this world.
mm,
We are all developed in our own ways, in our own, you know, particular ways, and we are getting there in our own
mm,
base,
mm,
basically on based on what we know on and what we're
mm,
good
mm,
at.
mm,
But anyway, I think every country, most country, third world country, has it to some degree as well, where they're not really good at distinguishing and respecting kids' boundaries, and helping the kids develop appropriately,
mm,
or develop well, in a way
mm,
that they can, like, their emotions are
mm,
in place, they like their mental health is in place,
mm,
and the spiritual health is also in place as well. Not all cultures do it better. There's no cultures out there that do it better than the other culture. Some cultures do certain things better, but they always fall short somewhere else. So it's a whole balance. Like we can look at the Western countries like Australia. They get these things about respecting boundaries really well, but they also fall short in a way of putting like strong boundaries for kids to have self-respect and respect elders. There's no, like, there isn't that balance
mm,
of respecting themselves and respecting elders in that way. Only the traditional Western people still hold that value. But the
pretty,
newer, but the
pretty.
newer, the newer, obviously newer civilization, newer system of how things are done, like even in schools system and stuff like that. A lot of kids obviously have been given a lot of freedom to do whatever they want to do, and like we give them boundaries that we don't step in, and we just let them do whatever, and start and so on and so forth. uh, but then they're falling short somewhere else, where we're not encouraging our kids, especially the Australian, like the Western kids, to strive and be better,
Mm,
because easy times create weak people.
mm,
Hard time create strong people,
mm.
and strong people create easy times, and the cycle will keep going, and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Mm,
Can we just touch on like one thing that we haven't touched on this
mm.
topic, spiritual boundaries, before we move on to the next one, real
Yeah,
quick?
true. True.
Right.
Any thoughts on spiritual
We
boundaries?
have two more questions to go through, but keep going.
All right, let's go to the next one then.
No,
All right,
but, but,
next.
but, but what do you mean by spiritual boundary? Just can't run away from spiritual boundary,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
let's
one of the
go.
most
There are
imperative
spiritual
ones.
boundaries.
Hmm.
There are
Yeah, there
spiritual
are spiritual
boundaries.
boundaries. Yeah.
For example, if you get, I think you said that when you were talking about boundaries, where Frank said, I don't remember. I don't. I don't remember your exact words, but there's something about um you can do everything, but you shouldn't do everything. Something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
everything is permissible,
Which yeah, which
but not but
I
not
was
everyone but not everything is profitable.
which was where I was going to go. You know, everything is permissible, but not everything is profitable. Which is
Not everything is profitable, but everything is permissible.
yeah.
So you can do
So
whatever you want to do. So let's say like lying.
the thing is, for example,
Mm.
let's use sex before marriage.
Premarital sex. Premarital sex.
Let's switch the language there, bro.
English.
We
Hey,
got it. We got it. Yeah,
That's
premarital
that's
sex.
a
Yeah.
huge spiritual boundary that people tend to talk about, and there seems to be a lot of confusion there.
people like to touch on that, but
The
they forget
reason why
there's
is
also
because
lying.
yeah, they want to for example, we are at we the place that we are today with what all this going on, it pretty much started during this sexual freedom revolution. Once people start to sleeping around too much outside of marriage, then that's exactly why we have abortion issues, parenting things
Yep.
issues, and all of
Hmm.
that. Anyway,
Hmm.
the reason why I'm saying this is because God created man and woman, and then he said it's not good for man to be alone. Therefore, God created woman. And then he says that's why a man will leave his father and mother to join with his wife and become one, right?
Hmm.
So whenever you connect with someone physically, you also will connect them emotionally and spiritually.
Spiritually, yeah.
However, if you sleep with someone with many people outside of marriage too much, you develop a process where you'll be able to sleep with people and completely disconnect them except physically. But even physically, you're still connecting with them, you're still becoming one.
Part
The
of
One.
only
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
the issue here is the reason why marriage is important and sex should be done within the marriage. It's because even psychologically speaking, the more people you sleep with outside of marriage, the higher percentage it is that you have a harder time to be in a committed relationship with,
Fact.
with one person.
Fact.
So even psychologically, it's still pointing towards what the Bible says. So that physical connection should always go with the emotional and the spiritual connection, and the commitment that you have within the marriage. Because whenever you have sex and the physical act without the emotional and the spiritual, then it becomes something corrupt. So you corrupting each other and depriving each other of the full extent of which the very act was made for.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So that's what a spiritual, one of the ways we can talk about spiritual boundaries. But also, you know, the idea of when in the Bible it says, do not consult with um do not commit adultery. It's another spiritual boundary that is too often broken or overcrossed,
Mm.
a step over the line,
Mm.
which can you can just read the Bible and you see how everything plays out once you cross that line.
Mm.
But I think I kind of went off track a little bit here.
I'm for what you're saying.
I follow.
And also, you should go without saying also with like those boundaries. When you step out of when you not following the rules, I think it's just a rule of life. That one, it's a rule of the life game. If you don't respect yourself like that, you don't have a boundary in who you sleep with and who you procreate with or something like that, you may just be bringing more hardship into your life without you knowing it, where things could be easy. Now, for example, having a single partner is easier than multiple partners in the aspect of you always have that one individual that you can grow and learn with. Like the simple fact that every day you wake up in the morning next to them and they always bring something new into your life. You're learning something new about them, and everything new you learn about them is always beautiful. There is a blessing in itself that you're missing out in you frequenting single event or one night stand things where you're not get to know an individual, you get to know the human spirit. You're not knowing who humans are or what females are.
Mm-hmm.
You're just looking at them as objects.
I
So I
think
think
the view that I had was, if you're in a circle and then God puts you in that circle, and then He sets boundaries. But this is a different type of of view, because it's God setting the boundaries, and God has the view inside the boundaries and then outside of the boundaries. And He put you inside of the boundaries because inside of the boundaries He knows it's good. And He knows that if you go outside of the boundaries, then one, you're on your own, and two, He knows it ends up being bad. However, for our point of view, is someone else is setting the boundaries. However, someone else is setting the boundaries, but we have to get to a point where we need to align our will to His will in order to see those boundaries as good, which goes back to parent and child. So even in the spiritual realm, parent and child boundaries extremely important.
yes, because it teaches them hierarchy. It teaches them the position in society and in the family and spiritually too, between them, the earth, the universe, and the creator of it all and God. It teaches that boundary as well. So yes,
But in the West, there's no hierarchy. They don't like to look at it like that. Like the kids, parents, they're all equal in the house.
that's just liberals. That's the liberals and
Look at it go. Politically, it's good.
Yeah, no,
That's
man.
not.
It is what it is, bro. You can see how it's affecting them. You can see it's affecting them.
Yeah.
You can see it's affecting them. I don't have to say anything in that area.
What do you think? Any thoughts on spiritual boundaries? Any insights, Frank?
I've lots to say, but let's move on to the thing, man, because
not even a small specific thing.
You've caught up, like you've touched on it quite well, so that's pretty good.
Okay, all right then. All right, next topic. Let's one question. What is power?
Power, respect.
What is power, Mr. Frank?
Power.
What
Power
is
is muscles.
power? Well, physically.
Muscles.
Power is muscle. What is power?
What is power? That is a good question, isn't it?
That's a really good question, eh?
Exactly.
Because people want power, but they don't even know what power is.
You don't even know what power is. Do you want it?
Let's dwell in it for a moment.
Wait, I have a question.
What is power?
Is power being a leader?
No.
Good. I just wanted to see where your thoughts were, but that's good. That's a good start.
All right, start unpacking. What do you think? What are your thoughts on where you want to go with? What is power? You go first.
Well, first of all, it depends on what context you are talking about power.
Okay, let's start with the definition of the word,
Mm.
and then we can go from there.
Let's go.
Oh, you want me to give you the definition?
Yeah. Give
All right.
us.
Okay.
Just put it on the screen and show and
all right,
read it
let's,
out to us. Yeah.
let's,
Mm.
uh, nah, I'll go on my phone because there's too much work here.
Mm.
So power, the dictionary is the ability to act or produce an effect, possession of control, authority, or an influence of others. And legal, official, authority, capacity, or right. The capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. I think that's a very very
All those things that you've just said there, right? When you were reading that, all I was thinking was Great Britain.
Great Britain. Why? Why
Great
British?
Britain. Just think about it.
What?
As a person,
Oh.
you want to be a leader, and you don't want power. Power is corrupt. Power corrupts. By being a leader, you actually serve. You have that mindset of serving. But power, you have a totalitarian type of mindset where you want to control people. You don't care about what other people think. It's all about you. Great Britain, look at what they did. They went everywhere around the world. They didn't care. They called themselves Great Britain. Hey, I have nothing against Great Britain. Queen, rest in peace. Now we have the king, but if you look at it, they went out in different countries, different lands, put the flag on. We've discovered this land. It's ours now. All these people are here. Oh, well, we'll have to live here with you now. Australia, you have that. America, you have all the other lands around the world as well. But then some lands, they decided to be like, you know what, we'll step back a little bit and leave you guys. And all that was done in the name of power, not in the name of leadership. Now, Jesus came and showed us how a true leader should be. A true leader shouldn't seek power, because power is corruption. A true leader wants to lead. And being a leader, you're not a totalitarian person. You are a people's person. You look at what, obviously you have the traits of power, but you take out the totalitarian and then you put in the serving bit of it. And then you are for the people. You serve the people. The people will follow you, not because you're asking them to follow you, but because they've seen your life that you're living as a honorable life. And they'll be like, this person right here, I want to follow. Not because they asking me to follow them, but because they have value. They have something I want to learn, I want to gain from. And that's what it is. That's what I think it is. We shouldn't want to be like the Great Britain. I think they're not Britain anymore. Like they're not how they used to be. But who am I to say? They should do it even today. You see companies, big corporates, still incorporating that very same idea in the policies, like in the policies, and stuff like that. So it's not good, but we have it today.
Mr. Angelo?
For me, I think power, like you said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But there's definitely different degrees of power. There's people out there that are as corrupted as they come and as dark as they come, but just from the sheer power they hold, the law cannot do anything to them. They're walking amongst us today. There's different levels of power out there. And I've also noticed there's a different level of power that respects command over having money and wealth. Like a guy that is respected, yeah, has more weight of power over him than the guy with the money or the flashy objects. Does that makes any sense?
Yes.
Like we use even Jesus as an example. All right. Jesus never had the Lamborghinis or the flashy Rolex and stuff, but my dude just spoke, and whatever he spoke was just fire, was powerful. All right. And his weight of like power was greater than those of Roman empires, based of just the way he lived his life. Does that make sense? And the way he went about it was a way which the power he had never went to his head, because he knew better. He was a good leader, just like Frank said as well. He wasn't a leader that was there for the glory, for the applause, or for the likes on Instagram. Nah, he was just trying to make things better. Like he found something that wasn't being done, and he rolled up his sleeves and said, "I'm gonna do this."
He washed his disciples' feet. Let that sink in.
Yeah, so I think power is definitely there, and it definitely corrupts, and there's definitely different types of it. Like even something as simple as beauty. Even women that are beautiful, yeah, can overpower the toughest man, the biggest dude, like the guy that I am the Rock, or but as soon as like a beautiful woman walks in there, boom, the Rock becomes a peasant. The Rock forgets how to speak.
Yeah, and those women sometimes, like those very attractive women, that beauty can corrupt them as well. You see that?
Yes.
See up there?
Yes.
That beauty will corrupt them.
Because that power fades, that power kind of runs away. It's like the power of like a UFC fighter as well. Like yeah, you can beat up people in the UFC, but when you reach the age of 50, your body starts being like, all right, let's chill out. You're done. Guess what? When you walk into that ring, that 20-something-year-old is gonna whoop your ass, gonna spin your head around. You'll be like, God damn, as if I was never a champion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
However, there's the other types of power now, the type of Jesus which I just said, where a guy picks up something which no one is doing and do it for themselves and do it for without anything in return, which commands respect. And I think that's the best, the most deserving power an individual can have. Like you can say, okay, this guy's power and it's deserving. That's kind of power. And I think that's why there's some of those individuals too out there that despite everything they've done, they can still walk around. Why? Because they saved Wall Street when Wall Street was about to collapse, and they saved trillions of dollars. So for them, embezzling a little bit of 100 grand, it's nothing to them. Or them sending inappropriate messages to someone, it's nothing to them. Or them hacking someone's phone and being caught for hacking it, it's nothing to them. Or them leaking important information, like they just bypass a lot of things. Yeah, that's I think that's the difference there. And if you're gonna pursue power, it's definitely important to understand the 48 laws of power, at least. Like there's principles that come with it. Otherwise, it can catch into its grips and it's hard to let go. You may just be stuck in a circle trying to suck up to people, trying to attain that power, and you may never attain it in the end.
Right.
It's basically like an energy or a demon that if you what was the best way? Like if you allow it, you have to invite it in. Like you have to personally invite it in into your life, into your bubble, to say, okay, come into my bubble. And if you invite it in there, it has power over you. And you have to become the dragon slayer or the giant killer to overcome those things. Like if you get fame, you have to overcome the thing where like every woman is going after you, yeah? You have to overcome that dragon. Or everyone is offering you like everything, offering you drugs, offering you jewelry and stuff like that. You have to overcome those demons. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's a yin and yang, as you have to learn to dance with the laws of power. That's my suggestion on power on that one.
So you don't let power control you, but you control power.
Yes.
You control it.
Yeah.
Interesting point of view. Interesting.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Lucas?
Because I think there's two types of powers. The powers that you guys talking about seems mostly seems to be worldly power, which is a corrupt way of power, which it works like you because of the fall and sin, human beings tend to have the desire to be empowered so we can have control. However, because worldly power it's corrupt, you also corrupt us. However, we already corrupt.
So yeah, we like power don't corrupt us. We are corrupted already, so we corrupt the power. We created power.
So in that sense, even with
Mm.
if you like, because I've read the 48 laws of power, and it's good to know, but it's not good to apply.
It's hard to apply. Not everyone can follow those
Not everyone
laws.
can follow, but it's not
Yeah.
good for you to apply those things, because by applying those things, you're already corrupting yourself even more, because you giving up a lot of moral standards just to get power, just to
in
satiate your power,
in the pursuit of power. Yeah.
the need of power.
True.
However, when you look
Makes sense.
at power in the Bible and Jesus, as you mentioned, it's a different type of power, because
Mm.
the the Bible is full of paradox. So it's two truths or more, that two realities that are true at the same time. Um and Jesus was God, but also was man. And because he came in human form, even the way he says is the power, the authority that he had was given. So power is given. The capacity and the ability to influence or direct behavior or the course of events, it's a given. If you receive, and with humbleness and recognition that that power doesn't belong to you but is working through you from God, then you'll be able to exercise that power without being corrupt, because it's you recognize that the power is not yours but is working through you. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And the power that Jesus had on earth was through the Father, because it was a connection between the relationship of the Father and the Son. You know,
Mm.
the ability of the Son being able to do the will of the Father perfectly, to the point where the Father would say, "This is my Son, which I'm pleased." So there's a few conversations between Jesus and the Pharisees, especially when they talk about he was casting demons, and they told him that, oh, it's by the power of Beelzebub that you cast demons. And he said, if Satan fights against Satan, he's dividing its kingdom, and something like that along those lines. But it was through the Spirit of God that Jesus had the power to do everything that he was done. So for us humans, I think Paul says something along those lines in one of his letters too. He says, "I can do all things through Him who gives me power."
Mm.
So that's the sense of real power, because it's not yours, and you recognize that it's not yours, but you know that it works through you, and because it works through you and it's not yours, and it's from someone who is much higher than you, then you get the ability and the peace and the sense that you can do all things. And you know that that power is not for your own gain and your own self-service, but it manifests in you in order to help others. So
Mm.
that's the real power. It's it's ability to influence and change people and events, but not for your own self service, but to the service of others.
So I
If you
think,
can, if you
yeah.
can influence and change the course of events in somebody's lives toward God and Jesus, that is power. However, if you don't recognize, and if you don't have the humbleness and the humility to recognize that that power is not yours, but is the power of God working through you, that's when you become corrupt, because that's when you start boasting, and then it's when you start thinking that those people who you touch their lives, it's because you did it. You had the ability to, influence and change the behavior and course of events in their lives, but it's not you. It's the spirit of God working through you. Or as opposed to the power in the world is completely corrupt, because what you seek, the power is to control, and you influence and you change the course of events and things through controlling, through fear, to making sure uh people are doing what you want, and it's self-serving. It's for your own gain. And this tends to come with something that once you achieve a certain power in within the world concept of power, you tend to want glory for yourself, because you have that power to, like, look of at what I can do. Look at all of those things I can touch and achieve. Therefore, you tend to develop a thirst for glory, which points towards the adversary, because that's that's what Satan, wants to take that role of God, to have that power, or look, I can do all these things, so therefore you must worship and glorify me. So that
Yeah.
corrupt power, that's where it comes.
So that's why I think we need to change that word of power. That when we talk about that particular power that you're talking about, it's not power anymore. It's something more than power.
Yeah, because it's not easily achievable.
Yeah.
Not even kings and queens have achieved to live to the standard of that
What do you
dude.
mean?
Well, what I mean, like historically, yeah, like you using like the divine as a source of authority over your direction of power, yeah. And historically, like you can read multiple books. There's been only a few individuals that have aligned themselves appropriately to those standards, and you know them. Like you know
But
those few
see,
individuals.
that's the thing. We looking at people in higher positions within the world concept.
No.
However, when you look at Jesus, he gives the power to the people who weren't in those positions.
So that's what I'm saying.
So the disciples
If
had
you
those powers.
if you look at it, like if you heard what I said, that like the first thing that I said, to make it like to speak in plain English, because we're not only speaking to Christians, we're also speaking to non-Christians out here too. So for people that don't know God that way, when you are talking about power, it's more about leadership. And when you talk about leadership is serving others. So when you serve
But you
other
have
people,
power when you're a leader. You shouldn't
you do
seek, but
have
you
power,
have it.
but we don't call it power because you don't want
But
to.
but it is
It is power attained past
yes.
so that people can gain.
But
Like
that is anyway, go on.
yeah. So and when obviously for us who wants to practice those good traits of leadership, at least, because I'm trying to stay away from that word of power,
Mm.
because the word of power is something it's been created by men. Like, even if you look at the definition of it, but I like what Angela said about the divine. It's something divine, something that, like a talent. No one ever wakes up in the morning and says, I have a talent, it's my talent. Talent is passed on to you. And the talent that's passed on to you, you use it to serve other people most of the time. Like singing, acting, dancing, making music, making movies, books, and stuff like that. We always do it for people's, enjoyment most of the time. And people that have grasped that, and that understanding of, this what I do is not for me, it's for other people, to actually serve other people, actually gain more recognition, in a way that they actually see something greater in those people that are doing it than those people that are doing it for themselves. So let's say if I wasn't doing it for myself, I was doing it for just to serve people, because I feel like this is not mine, like the thing that I have, like the talent that I have, I've been given, it's been given to me so I can help other people learn, so I can help other people get better in life, so I can, make people smile or laugh, being a comedian and stuff like that. People will look at me and they will see that great thing in me, and people will automatically follow me. That great thing is not power. That great thing is divine. Divine power in our language of humans, because we are merely humans. We don't even understand what power is, really, true power, because God is the ultimate divine being out there that we will never understand. But He gives it to us. He lends it to us. Not even gives it, He lends it to us. I'm lending this to you because I'm going to take it back. Just like He lent us the world. He lent us the world. He is the world. Steward this thing for me and keep it nice and safe and steward it, so that when I come back, I want it to look as good as I left it with you guys and stuff like that. So it's a responsibility that has been given to you that you have to do in order to help other people be in a good place, so people can recognize that and do the same thing. So it's basically a butterfly effect. So when you do it to one person, the other person will do it. That's just in plain English. You are doing a good job, in going to like the nitty gritties, like with the language, with obviously with godly powers, given to us and stuff like that. But I'm trying to speak to everyone, non-Christians,
I
Christians,
think
Muslims, and stuff like that,
I
so they
think
can sort of have the idea of where we're coming from with what power is in a healthy way.
I
In
think
reality,
yeah,
Yeah,
I
reality.
think if okay, let's look at this way. If you have responsibility with the authority, then nobody's gonna listen to you.
mhm,
If you're responsible for, I don't know, if you're responsible in running a gym, but you don't have the authority to apply to those responsibilities, then no one's gonna listen to you. You don't mean anything. So
Ah,
if you're a leader but you don't have the power, nobody's gonna listen to you anyway. The point I'm making is, for example, if you look at the day of Pentecost, when Peter preached to those people and the 3,000 people got converted, he received the power first.
anointing,
That's the power of the Holy Spirit.
anointing. Let's use the
Anointing.
anointing, man.
He got anointed, but he received the power of the Holy Spirit, which allowed him to,
Mm.
So, in a sense, for you to be a leader, you need to have uh the power, because the power in the Bible is the capacity, the ability to direct or influence behavior of other course of events, which Jesus and the apostle did many times. They influence people, the behavior of others, and the course of events throughout history.
Because of what
And
God gave him.
yeah, exactly. But
Mhm.
so like leadership and power goes hand in hand, because if you're just a leader, then you just have the responsibility.
And
That's
if you
why
just have power,
Without the
why
power, you don't have the authority, because also power is the energy of God working by which we are saved. So
anointing.
that's why we say there's power in the blood. Why? Because it's through the blood of Christ that we are free from sin.
Mm. True.
You're gonna say something, Andrew?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I use the word respect. I think respect is a more generalized way. Like if you respected, you have more power than the guy that's just bullying
Yeah,
people and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So like if you respected, you are the imam, you are the rabbi, you are whatever, you're gonna have
Mm,
more commanding power over the
mm,
guy that's bullying people.
mm.
Mm.
And that's what's been shown throughout history. And what's been shown throughout history again is absolute power corrupts absolutely. Even with good men, great men, men
Yeah.
of religion, they got too much power, they got corrupted. Only a few have shown to withstand that. And amongst that, the honorable mentions Jesus, the Buddha is one of them.
Power and women.
The Buddha did an amazing job too in withstanding that stuff.
Mm.
Uh, there's a few more, but it's a really tough road to navigate, the road of power and leadership. So the easy one. It's not for everyone. In short, it's not for everyone.
But I think we're also thinking too much in large scales.
No, even like in your family, like raising a child,
Okay.
it's not a joke. It's not a
Oh,
joke.
of course not.
You can easily lose grasp of your child by just failing to apply the principles of powers properly.
True. That's true.
If that makes any sense.
Narrow
So,
down
and
so
that's
much
why before you become a parent, and when
Mm.
you're in a marriage or when you're in a household, the man, the way I understand it, a man has to walk with God. You definitely have to walk with God, because God will have to touch you in a way, anoint you, give you power. From Lucas, power. Gives you the power.
And I'd
That's
like to
not.
clarify too. I'd like to clarify when I say
You
grasp on
make
your
it sound weird
family.
now.
I'm not talking about like control over them, like controlling people. Like that's not power either.
Mm.
If that makes
Yeah,
any sense
That's a
too.
corrupt
yeah,
power.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
That's
corrupt
corrupted.
power.
That's
Yeah.
corrupted power. So when you walk with God, you understand what true leadership is. You
Executive
learn it from
decisions,
God.
aka you're
You
making
learn
executive
it like
decisions. Yeah.
He gives you the very same knowledge that He gave Jesus. So basically, He walks with you. He's giving you the idea, or the knowledge, but He's also walking with you as well through the mistakes, because we're humans. We're not Jesus. Jesus is the only person that has ever walked on this earth and never ever made a mistake, as far as we're concerned. But He says that because I wasn't born the way you guys were born, we're not the same. But we are the same at the same time again, if you look at it. Because everything that my Father's given me, He's given to you. If you look at it in the beginning, when God made Adam and Eve, He made Adam first so He can walk the journey with Adam, so that He can give Eve later on, so that the dude should be enlightened, should have the knowledge and the intelligence to at least lead and guide whatever has been given to him. And when God brought Eve to the dude, that created a big spark, an awesome thing, because that's what God had in mind. He wanted to have Eve and Adam create something nice, just like they have, the Father, God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, and God the Son, all those things to create that beautifully. But obviously, we fell short. So He will have to walk with us now, personally, and you have to anoint us as well, so we can at least have the strength, because we lost our strength already because of the sin. So we have to get that strength from God, so we can at least raise a kid. And that kid is basically the Trinity, just like the Trinity with God. God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, and God the Son, just like me, my wife, and my child, which we create one body. And it's a beautiful thing when it works well. Oh, oh,
When you're in harmony, yeah.
it is amazing. You walk into a house of someone like a family that has grasped that idea and practiced it. You want to live in that house.
Mhm. The reason why I said power when I was talking about Peter is because yes, he got anointed by the Holy Spirit. However, it's through the power of the Holy Spirit, which power is he was able to influence the behavior of all those people and change the course of events, not just in those people's life, but also throughout the history. You can see from there until up to now. So that's why I said to the power of the Holy Spirit, he was able to uh, get to those people. So it's anointed by the Holy Spirit, but by the power of the Holy Spirit, he was able to influence the behavior and the course of events of everyone who was around there and throughout on history. That's what I meant about power.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Anyway, gentlemen, it's 11:50 over here.
It's 11:50 over here too.
Yeah.
Daylight savings out, bruv.
Hey,
Oh,
look at you.
hey.
Winter is coming.
Look at you.
There you go.
All right,
Look
then
at
last
it.
question. Let's go last
Look
question. We
ahead
can
of
get
us.
some shut eyes time.
Yes, indeed. What's the last question? The state of
Last
art, was it?
question. What are your thoughts on the state of art in today's time?
Rubbish.
Yeah, why'd you say that?
That was so quick. Why?
And
Why?
that's me
Why?
right there.
Why? Why is it rubbish?
Why is it rubbish?
Are you asking why is it rubbish?
Yes. Just because it's
Oh.
rubbish doesn't mean you
Ah.
say that.
Can't end on
Because
that.
there's so many artists today that people don't know of, that people that you've probably never heard of, that are
Okay,
doing
what
amazing
is
work.
art then? Is it the ability to express yourself through, what can you call it? The ability to express yourself through material?
The expression of application of human creative skills and
The
imagination.
expression of application of human skills and imagination.
Creative skills and imagination.
Creative skills, and so it's how you apply your creative skills and imagination.
You can have the imagination,
Yeah,
and the skills, but if you cannot express it and apply it,
yeah, then it's not art.
but most of the time we have people that apply skills based on accident or based on the idea of having a skill or imagination. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. So
Like,
why
not actual skills or imagination, but the idea of having skill. Because you cannot teach art.
you can
You
teach the application of
you
it, but you
cannot
cannot teach
like,
the
yeah. So you get it? But
yes.
you can express. So in one way, we are all artists anyway. Every single human being on this earth, we are artists because we are designed by the greatest artist of all time, God. So he's expressed his imagination by creating humans, by creating lions, by creating the earth, the Big Bang, boom, create out of nothing. Something coming out of nothing on itself, just to think about. It is just blown, like mind blowing, right? So for me, in this day and age, I've seen what people call art. And when I speak to people that say that are artists and do art, it's an idea that they have. They want to be artists, but they have an idea or thoughts of doing something and they try to apply it, and sometimes comes out mediocre. Most of the time, they want to copy other people's stuff. Because the true artist creates something that no one has ever seen. Creates something that when someone looks at, we're like, oh, how'd you come up with that? Most of the time, true art for us humans I think in a way it comes out as accident because we don't know what we're doing. That's true art. You should know what you're doing.
Why do you think the state of art today is rubbish?
Exactly what I just said there.
Okay.
Because true, like the artists nowadays, they are overthinking it. They're overthinking art. Just like we like to overthink things, and when we have something good that's given to us, we just like to ruin as humans because that's our nature. Something beautiful, something good, we just take it and ruin it.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Obviously, most people will have other opinions about what they think about art. Some people actually think that today's art, is the pinnacle of it. Like it's beautiful, it's nice. But to me, the true artists are being diminished. The true artists are being stepped on by the louder, mediocre artists. Because nowadays it's not only about it's not just about being an artist. It's about it's about knowing people, right? It's about, hey, I know this person, hey, opportunity, hey, I have an opportunity for you. You want to do this? Boom. That person that doesn't really have talent or doesn't really have like the artistic creative imagination. However, because they've been given an opportunity, you can actually get the person's, even just the outlook or whatever spark that they have, just the little bit spark that they have, and you can create something big out of it. How do I know this? By music. With the new softwares that we have in music, you don't need to know how to sing for you to actually make music, because of how the softwares actually helps tune up your vocals, and you will sound like an angel. When in reality, when you sing, you sound like a dying crow or something like that. I don't know. But that's me. But I truly believe that there's true artists out there, but the true artists are not the majority nowadays. The true artists are being stepped on. The true artists are like what happened to Walt Disney. Like he was looked at and be like, that's not selling. That's not going to sell. That's not good. And I think true artists will understand that true artists only become big after they die. But when they're alive, nobody cares. Only when they die, they're like, oh, yeah, Da Vinci. You remember Da Vinci? Or Walt Disney and stuff like that, But when they're alive, nobody cares about them. So it's I don't know. It's a hit and miss for me. Yeah.
Mr. Angelo.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree with this on that one.
Okay.
I think art is at its peak as it could be today. Like if you look at every field of arts, like in martial arts, or let's use martial arts today. That's an art, isn't it? It's an expression of the human, with a highest degree. And if you look at the 1%ers of martial arts, the way they express those abilities, it's so impressive, if you watch them fight and you go back to an armed combat from, let's say, the Roman times, they would kill those guys so badly that could be sad to watch. Or, for example, in science today, we have things such as the James Webb Telescope by NASA.
But I don't know if that's art.
It's the ultimate expression of from what they bring to us, like the images they bring to us, is art. But it's just a collection of a lot of individuals working together to achieve one goal, to express how the universe looks like for us that can see.
I don't know. I think that's just people creating something to do science, which is the observance of
the greatest art of all time, which was created by God, the greatest art of all time. If you look at the universe, it will humble you. There's some stuff out there. If you look at, you go like, how did you even come with this?
Zoom out, bro.
Yes, creating the telescope.
So that's what I'm saying. Like God. God is the greatest
Um,
artist of all time, so we can't compare ourselves to that. You know?
let me just the definition of like it's the ultimate form of like human expression, yeah. I feel like today humans are expressing themselves more freely than they were back in the days, and
Ooh.
it's because of that cloud that we tend to see um the loud kind of art. But if you look into it properly, yeah, there's amazing artists out there today that are doing amazing things. There's an
I know.
artist that sculpts microgramic sculptures into crystals. Like if you look into like the tiny giant, a guy sculpted an elephant. That's a microgram elephant. You can only see it if you use what do you call them again? A telescope, not telescope, a microscope. Yes, you can also use a microscope to see the elephants in the thing, and just try to think, what would you start to sculpt something that's microscopic? Like what tools would you use? Do you start doing that?
No
To
idea.
me, that's amazing art right there.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing art. Like you don't even know what to start. But like, and if you go back in the days, like that would be so much hard to achieve. However, again, having said that, we don't know if modern day art is better than back in the day art because we have lost a lot of information with like the banning and the censoring of information. We censor art that seems to make us feel uncomfortable, and in the process we seem to lose also a lot of valuable information in the process, because usually artists are trying to express something in their art. They're trying to express that distress, or to express love, not to express joy, not to express a scientific theory that is hard to explain, but they can express it in just a single instrument bit. Like a wave, for example, you can express it by just strumming a guitar, the echo of the zoom, zoom, zoom of the sound, an expression of a wave right there. And that's art right there. And it can be interpreted in many different ways as well. It can resonate with a lot of people for different reasons. Yeah. And I think in that area, yeah, today we have people definitely doing there's Michael Jordans of art today, like in rap, there's those dudes out there that make bangers. In worship songs, people make art that if you listen to it, it touches your soul. You go like, damn, I've been a piece of shit. I need to change. Yeah, there's those artists there today that I'll not stand up for them and say yes, it's not that bad after all. So that bad.
Hey, at least we need someone to advocate for them. At least
Yes.
I'm playing the devil's advocate. At least
Yeah,
they're
now
the
fair
angel's
enough.
advocate.
Yeah, fair enough. It's
That's
not
good.
bad after all.
Okay, different point of views. All right.
Hey, that's good. But
Yeah.
I would say one thing though. Without old school art, there's no new school art.
Yes, you have to expose yourself to things.
There's no LeBron James without Michael Jordan. There's no Kobe Bryant without Michael Jordan. So, but who's better though? We always ask that question.
The pioneers always better. So okay, actually no. So you give respect to the pioneers, but still give respect to LeBron James. If you put LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, so Michael Jordan at his peak, yeah. LeBron James at his peak.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing to see Jordan running with LeBron.
Are you sure though?
I'm 100%. Look at the scoreboards, bro. Look at the scoreboards. What?
I don't know, man,
look at the scoreboards.
Because Jordan was pretty tough, but hey, yeah,
look at the scoreboards.
You never know.
And apparently LeBron is weird. Apparently, like at 38, yeah, most basketball players like deteriorate, but for him, he's even becoming better. Like he's playing more positions now.
Spending $1 million on his body, man.
Yes, bro. What? That's an artist right there. Like if you watch him play basketball, yeah, it's like, damn, that's what men can do. That's what a human being can do. And just follows, or we just switch off everything, yeah. You follow God and say, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dedicate this myself to this, yeah. That's what they can do. It's amazing to watch LeBron play. It's amazing. That's an artist right there. Showing you what he can do with his body. Amazingly. That's like you don't have to be like, oh no, I need a little bit of a nap. I'm gonna pass out. Nah, let's just keep on going. If that makes any sense.
Mhm.
And that's not really actually in the sports. There's like amazing painters too. There's like David Cho. David Cho does paintings like how Kanye West does his music. You know how Kanye West does music, like you do
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
nice
yeah.
beat, you do a nice beat, and then you just
Pull it up.
ruin
Pull it
it.
up.
All right. Let me pull up David Cho art. Yeah. Just screen.
Can we actually? Are we gonna get in trouble?
Nah, I think
It's just a reaction.
yeah, he'll be
It's
happy with it. Don't worry, guys. It's just us on YouTube. We'll go on Google, Gordon Ryan. How do you expand this even? Ah,
Yeah, click the green button. That is the best person in jiu-jitsu fighter.
yes, bro. This guy, he's also an artist. Yes, like David Cho, yeah. You draw something so perfect, yeah, and then just ruin it.
But it doesn't feel like he ruined it.
But it doesn't feel like it's ruined it. That's the thing.
Man.
Like, look at this. You draw something perfect, and then we just throw a tantrum, just start painting on it, like with just random paint.
That's pretty cool, bro. Whoa, this one.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
See, this guy is alive today. This guy right here. Hold up. Like he does so many different kind of paintings that will just make you go like, what is going on in that dude's mind?
What the heck is that?
Yes, like, yes, exactly. You'd be like, what is going on in this dude's mind, bro? Like, what are you looking at? What are you referencing to make your art? Does that make sense? Like, there's a piece that I saw that impressed me the most was a riot one. Well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Can it pop up? Like he drew everyone like almost perfectly. I think I'll go on his Instagram and or let's see. Let's just end with this. How he does it. How he draws.
2009, bruh.
Is it because of
Yes, this is how easy it makes it look too.
or is it because they're afraid of the consequences, or are they afraid of getting caught, or are they afraid of themselves?
Born and raised in Los Angeles, graffiti artist David Cho is a self-proclaimed hustler, fighter, and art school dropout.
All right, they tap into most of his stuff.
I've had this bullshit in my face so many times. Rejection, and I don't really care to get my art critiqued, and I don't really care what you think about it.
There you go.
Anyways, it's this whole attitude and just steal
like amongst the big leagues, yeah, this guy is up there.
stuff on the freeway and
like just take some time away by yourself, just look into his art. You'd be like, damn, son.
The 10 or 100 people that would have ever seen it over the course of a month in the art gallery.
Like boom, he's running away just like that, and it's gone. And we wonder like, how? Who drew this? How? Do they mean they're just in a car? Your friends drove him and he did it.
Now living in San Jose, David's natural talent and irreverent do-it-yourself attitude have taken him to the brink of art stardom. In the last 3 years, he self-published multiple award-winning graphic novels, produced illustrations for high-profile magazines, and mounted dozens of gallery shows of his paintings.
David Cho is really happening.
That's good to hear.
This whole thing is filled with.
Like, look at that.
Yo, that's cool.
And these are just his gravities.
Where is he from again?
I think he's Korean.
He's from LA, but he's Korean, I think. His parents were immigrant, but he was born there.
Ah, so he was born
David was
in LA.
invited to Tokyo to create a mural and participate in a group action.
He has the LA vibes anyway.
I was running around doing all my shopping. and just undercut.
Like look at this one here.
Like, all right, man. Like,
But you guys get the gist though, yeah?
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you, 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 you get you get the gist of just
yeah.
how dude there's amazing artists out here that are still doing that thing that's complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
But
have to
this
give him
guy
the
should be
roses.
he should be bigger than what he is now.
Oh, he's that big that he, the mural of Facebook, he painted the mural for Facebook for free as an artist that he is, he didn't value money. But Mark Zuckerberg offered him shares, I think, I don't know, was like 2% or something like that when Facebook was being created. Today, from that little share he was given by Facebook, he's worth, I think, 200 million from it. From that simple action of him just doing something for free, wanting to be an artist and not caring for money. It gave him
Good.
that much money.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just so and he does it to the everyday thing. Wakes up in the morning, he's doing it. He doesn't sleep either. Like that's him. He eats, he starts painting. He eats again because he's painting. So there is Jags today still doing it. But what are your thoughts, Lucas?
I think it depends because most of the mainstream art is not very good today. We have traded off too much due to the
Fear of censorship.
compact form of information that we have because we have compacted information into such small devices that we can access it at any time and
That is true as well.
and
That
then
is
we
true, yeah.
become a society of consumers. So we consume too much and then we consume too much information. Therefore, we have less time of free thought. And with less time of free thought, it's less imagination. Then it creates too much influence for many things. So your art can deteriorate as opposed to ancient times or older times where we have less access to information. We have more free thought. Therefore, we can stimulate the imagination more often. Then you can have more uh, we tended to have more creative minds, and also I think with this mental health crisis that the world has been going through, it also has affected the application of art because that may be very well maybe many people with great imagination. However, due to all the consuming of information and the mental health crisis and all this thing that's going on, it has greatly affected the applying of such art. And you can see that mainstream art has become very political, and also that has hindered, if that's even a word. Yeah, the main because music, it's
I've actually found a good thing too, but yeah, carry on.
Mostly it's have been downgraded in terms of art has been downgraded too. I think if you want to find good art, if you have to look for it because the mainstream ones hasn't been very good. So I think it's still
I've sent it to you, Frank. Have a look at it.
That there's many good art today. However, due to the technological and advances and amongst other things, the extremely consuming information consuming society that we have become, it has definitely downgraded most of mainstream artists. That's it pretty much.
Yeah, and it also sucks that they suppress art. That's like what we do not understand. With what we do not understand, we tend to suppress. We tend to not want to look at. We tend to not want to listen. We don't want to observe. Does that make sense? And in the process, we may also miss on the upcoming artists that doesn't have the many tools or the much influence in comparison to the guy that has a lot of influence that can bypass the naysayers. Does that make sense? what's the small timer artist, even like just 10 people say no to them that ain't it, they tend to kill the spirit. What the mainstream one, even if they just draw a squiggly line on a paper, people go like, hey, and they bypass the naysayers. So there's a lot of things at play there, I suppose, with the state of art today. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I do get what you're saying, though. Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of things at play. Mm.
Anyway,
Exactly,
lads,
exactly what I've been saying.
any
So-
final thoughts on anything?
Nah,
Anything else that you guys want to put out there?
I think we've quite
We covered
discussed-
everything.
Yeah, we've covered everything. Yeah.
All right.
How long was this even?
I have no idea. We'll find out later.
Yes, indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. This is the first
Hey,
live,
2
first
hours.
episode.
Not
2
bad.
hours.
Hmm.